Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. What we're going to do is give you guys a quick rundown on block trades, talk a little bit about the Benzinga Pro platform, and hopefully allow you guys to leave this webinar a little smarter than you were when we started. So my name is Mike Marshall. I got Brent Slava here. Brent, anything that you'd like to say before we get started?
Thanks for watching.
All right. So what you guys should see on your screen right now is the register page. If you guys type in this URL that I'm highlighting right up here, you guys can type that into your personal browser, fill out this information, hit register, and you guys can go ahead and follow along with us. So I have obviously already registered, so I'm just going to go ahead and get logged in. And what you guys see here is the Benzinga Pro platform. These are some of the different features. You see them right here in the middle of a blank workspace, and you also see them lined up right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get to the settings, and I'm going to turn off this ticker bar, and I'm going to get it in high contrast for you guys. Also right up here, if you guys do currently have the platform, right here, this red ball with the number next to it is going to keep you guys updated on all the different updates that we rolled out in the platform to allow you guys to continue to get the most out of the platform.
And that's happening all the time. We're always updating stuff.
Absolutely. So, you know, and if there's any other ways that we can help teach you guys how to utilize the platform, please let us know. I have dropped in a link to the chat. And, you know, Brett and I would love some questions, so please feel free to throw us some curveballs, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Sweet.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to...
what are you going to name it?
I'm just going to do News and Signals.
Cool.
So as you guys can see, we could make as many workspaces up top as we wanted. But just for the sake of time, we're just going to start with this one. So as I click my news feed, Brett, what's the first thing that they're going to notice?
All right, so you're going to notice a bunch of headlines populating. You're going to notice a timestamp further on the left. You're going to notice tickers that are colored. You're going to notice there's a headline which might have some further content inside the body. You're also going to notice a wire code over on the right-hand side. And we can kind of like touch on all these, but the important things that we're going to talk about is how the headlines work and what the wire codes mean and what's kind of different between the couple of wire codes that we want to talk about today, at least.
Excellent. So, you know, and just to give a quick overview, right up here at the top of your news feed is going to be a search bar. So since we're going to talk about block trades, I'm just going to show you guys that you could just type in the word block, and you would see a lot of the block movement going on right here just by a keyword search. So that is one way to get there. And then also you guys will see over here we have a filters button. So if we click this, we would see all the different categories, sources that are on the platform. And if we wanted to filter down our news feed only by our watch list, we could do so as well. So Brett, before we get started, sure, why don't we set up a couple settings here on our news feed?
Let's do it.
So
you clicked over into settings, you clicked on the news feed tab there, you're looking at your headline themes.
Yep, and so I clicked add theme, and we're going to be doing a lot with the BZ signals today. So should we change that a different color?
Yep, so select that source, and you can click that little color box, and you can kind of make whatever color you sort of prefer.
He's a purple guy.
I love purple. I wouldn't recommend, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but you can see, Mike, if you just scroll up a little bit inside the theme section, you see that we give you 3 red ones by default. So I would sort of like recommend not changing those ones. They are exclusive hot and market movement exclusive. Those are some of Benzinga's highest priority channels, potentially some of the most actionable ones. So I would sort of recommend leaving those red and make some of your other theme settings a different color than red.
Great. So we have signals. Is there any other theme that you want to add?
Let's see. No, I think that's fine for right now. Let's not get too much stuff in there. Why don't you jump back to the news feed? We can see what it looks like. And then really quickly, just want to go over a couple things, a couple sort of interactions that you're seeing as you're looking at this newsfeed. And we do have, it looks like a question coming in, so I'm gonna let Mike get to that one real quick. So Leon's asking what a sweep means, and this is a really good question. Leon, we're gonna get to a question like, we're gonna get to an answer like this. If you want to stick with us for another few minutes here, we can kind of work toward that, if you don't mind.
Excellent.
So what you're seeing, real quickly, I want to go over, what some of this information is. Let's start with that wire code over on the right side that says Benzinga wire. So what are you getting with your Benzinga wire? You're getting headlines that are only going to Benzinga Pro, and at the same time, you're also getting full-length articles which are going to Benzinga.com in addition to going to Benzinga Pro.
And one way you can tell if it's just a headline, it's just going to be this brighter color right here. And if there's more to the story, we're going to see it kind of trail off right on the back end. And we can just click on that headline anywhere to go ahead and read that whole story.
And you can also, real quick, you can double click. If you're kind of the guy or gal who doesn't want to take up space in your newsfeed, you can double click it. It'll pop it out in its own little window. And so what you got here, this is a Benzinga.com story. So there's this kind of mix of Benzinga Pro headlines and Benzinga stories going into the feed. They're probably going to be equally as useful for different users. Benzinga Pro headlines are going to be much shorter form. They're going to be trying to get you information a little bit more quickly. Benzinga.com stories are going to be more in depth. There's probably going to be more details. However, it might take you a little bit more time to read. But at the same time, sometimes they're a little bit funner to read. We get a little bit of personality. We can have a little bit of fun in those stories sometimes. So one more thing really quickly. So everything that you see in this window here that we're looking at right now that's in the white, in other words, not highlighted in purple from the Benzinga signals, is hand curated, aggregated, generated by reporters on our news desk. So any of the headlines that are Benzinga Pro only are basically a bunch of real-time news reporters who are watching a ton of different sources, press releases, SEC filings, other publications like Bloomberg, Dow Jones, Reuters. We're watching social media. We're watching just a ton of things, and we're trying to filter all that stuff down into only some actionable things.
Absolutely. And just for a little, we can't see the entire news desk here, but you can start to see a little bit of the news desk in the team right over there, right behind us. So they are hard at work nonstop, trying to give you guys the best information to help make investing decisions.
Okay, so let's jump over to Benzinga signals. So those are the ones that are highlighted in purple here, and there's just a couple of them. And Benzinga signals, where Benzinga wire is hand done by a reporter, the Benzinga signals is our automated solution. It is the only part of Benzinga Pro that is automated right now. And what does automated mean? Well, we are having a conversation, not literally, but we're in communication with the exchanges throughout the day, numerous times a second, and our system is pinging the exchanges, getting quote information. It's looking at things like notable price action. It's looking at things like halts, trading halts. It's looking at things like options trades, and the ones that we are going to talk about today for most of the time, which is block trade. So if you see something go, if you see a signal fire, if you see a signal trigger and you see a color highlighted like purple here, like we did on this platform, you know for sure that that action happened maybe a fraction of a second ago. The example that we see here on screen is a ticker CHFS. And so what happened here on CHFS, it says CHFS spiking higher. When you get one of these spiking headlines, it means that within the last probably 3 minutes or less, there's been some kind of notable price action in a stock. There's also alerts on Benzinga signals that are over a bit of a longer time frame. I think it's 5 minutes. And the sort of different language you're going to see with these, actually there's two right here. If you scroll on just okay, that's fine right there. Let's use Nike. So look at the Benzinga signal says Nike moved 1.6% higher over the last 5 minutes. That is a little bit different than this SPEX one that is just up here. This was probably over a matter of a few seconds or maybe like a minute tops. So just wanted to make a little bit of a distinction there. And Mike, I think we're good to go there. If anyone has any questions kind of like on our quick breakdown of what's going on in your news feed, definitely send them in. And again, we're going to focus on block trades here, but we did have a question from Leon. Looks like he's an options trader. He wants to know some more information on options. And just to get to your question real quick, Leon, then we can get to block trades. He's asking, what is a sweep? So why don't we real quick, Mike, pull up just an options alert. Okay, so Mike filtered by a keyword there, option, and you can see we're only getting a lot of options alerts. And you can see that in a lot of these option alerts, we're seeing the word sweep. What does a sweep mean? So how our system works is it's taking orders from a lot of different exchanges and a lot of different routers out there. There's not just, you know, a couple key players that are sending options trades around. There's a ton. What our system does is it takes the orders from all of those players and sort of compiles them into this one alert. And this isn't exactly information that you can get on like a big brokerage website. So if you have a broker website and you use the option chain, you're not going to get orders from all the exchanges. There's just kind of some, like, you know, for lack of a better description, there's kind of some more low-key players who are out there and they are getting orders around. What our system does is it takes those orders and kind of sweeps them together. And there's a little number to the right side of where it says sweep, and right there for the example of VOC, it says 5. For the example of Fred, it says 21. It means that our system is sweeping orders from what appears to be 21 different sources. It might be, again, it might be some kind of order router, it might be some kind of exchange.
Awesome. And so since we kind of described what a sweep is, Brent, would you mind, I guess, you know, since this webinar is about block trades, would you mind just giving us a overview quickly of what a block trade is?
Okay, so what's a block trade? So and Mike is going to do a little search here for just block. We're going to show you just a lot of the block trades. And so what is a block trade? So let's take a couple examples here. So Mike highlighted a couple tickers, a couple headlines on SRC. Let's just use those two right there for SRC. So what happened when these block trades cross? So let's say a big investor out there, potentially big investor, called up their broker and said, I'm looking to get rid of potentially a couple 100,000 shares of a stock right now. How can I do that? And what the broker does is they'll call up their specialist and they'll find a way basically to facilitate this investor's interest. They want to, instead of making an order throughout the day, you know, if an investor has 300,000 shares of SRC to buy or sell, maybe they don't want to do it all throughout the day. Maybe they want to do that right in one block. And so basically the specialist will get together this investor's buy or sell, and they'll try to match it up with potentially, you know, if they can do just one other investor on the other side of the trade, that's great. But what happens most of the time is if there's one big investor on one side of the trade, the specialist will have to go out there and find ways to fill those 300,000 shares, for example. So maybe they'll find, you know, 10 players that each want to sell 30,000 shares to get us to the 300,000 total. Really quick description of block trades, Mike. It goes a lot more in depth than that, but, you know, for lack of time and for what I think sort of basic understanding we need here to understand that, I think that'll probably be a good enough description.
Great. And so since we're going to just take a deeper dive into block trades, and,
yeah.
and guys, remember when we've seen the themes were highlighted red? They're going to be indicating, they're going to have indicators right here in our filters tab as well. So we go to filters, we see these three that are outlined as red. Those were just the colors on the settings feature, just like signals right here is now outlined purple. Thanks. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the wire, the Benzinga wire, since we're going to focus mainly all of our information on the signals. Mm-hmm. And we can see that we only have the signals coming through along the right-hand side, and we have them all coming through as purple.
Makes sense.
So we do have another question coming in. Really appreciate it. Love the question. How do we find out the number of buy orders and sell orders? Is that something that we can take a quick?
All right. So thanks for the question, Jarlath, for your buy and order sell question. On Benzinga Pro right now, so what I think you're looking for is, it seems like you're looking for the order book. It seems like you might be looking for like a level 2 quote, Jarlath. You can't do that on Benzinga Pro right now, so unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you how to do that on Benzinga Pro. It is something you can do. It's a rather easy sort of usage on a brokerage platform like you might have. You can look for level 2 quotes, or look for somewhere on your platform that says time and sales. If you can find the level 2 quote, or you can find where your time and sales are displayed, then what you're going to see, Jarlath, is you're going to see the number of blocks coming in. So if an investor wants to sell 100 shares at a certain price, you're actually going to see that order come in. If a big investor wants to get rid of 10,000 shares and that order goes out in that form, you're actually going to see that. And it's how a lot of higher level traders trade. They don't even need news. They don't even need, price action. All they're looking at is that order book. So it is something that you can do. It is relatively easy. Unfortunately, you can't do it on Benzinga Pro, at least right now.
Awesome. So, it is something that is in the works, though, just so it is on our development board for something to be coming up. So we are here in our BZ Signals. Brent.
Yep.
Where do you want to take us?
Okay, so I kind of quickly explain what a block trade is. Let's see. Let's go over. I think I'm sort of thinking about probably what some listeners in this webinar want to hear about, and I think that is going to be sort of combining block trades, which is going to be the focus of this webinar, and something that we know is really popular. We've already had one question on it. It's on options orders. So I've got a couple questions recently where a user was asking me, are there block trades happening in options alerts? And not really. To kind of be frank, it doesn't exactly work that way. The activity that you're seeing when you get an option alert on Benzinga Pro is highlighting most of the time volume over a single day. What we look for in our options activity is unusual volume versus open interest. So Mike, if you don't mind, pull up an option alert real quick. So Mike just typed in option here. Let's see.
This first one might be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely. So why was this option alert on CGI notable? Okay, so what you're seeing here is let's start at the left really quickly. So the expiration is the first item after the ticker that you're going to see. This is the August 2018 expiring puts at the 250 level. That's what the contract is. The action seemed to be happening at the ask, and that first number past the word ask in this option alert is volume. What is volume? Volume is the activity in a contract over the course of the recent session, the intraday session most of the time. So this was notable because in all the days that this contract has traded, there was only one contract that traded. However, today, for whatever reason, we don't necessarily care about the reason right now. We just care about the interest. There was almost 4,500 of those contracts traded. So you can see the magnitude there of that kind of volume coming into a name like that. So it's not that block trades don't really happen in options. It's just that's not really the important thing. The important thing is the notable volume that you're seeing for a day, and they don't necessarily happen in like, a 4,500 contract lot. That's not really how it works. Just to answer a question, I know we've had a couple inquiries on recently. From there, why don't we go over to another question that I've got pretty recently, which is how long is an investor who might be involved in a block trade going to be in that trade for? So I think the concern there is somebody doesn't want to use a block trade if it means that that investor that got in there is going to be out of the trade by the time they get in, right? I mean, that sounds like a pretty real concern, right, Mike?
Absolutely. So if I'm hearing you correctly, yep. You're saying, while monitoring some of these block trade activities,
yep.
A lot of the questions that you're hearing are if they're purchasing these 500, if they're watching someone purchase this 500,000 block,
yep.
as a retail trader,
Yes.
I should be thinking about how long this position is going to be held for by this purchaser?
It's something that a lot of people are wondering. And it's kind of taken us to where I was hoping to go in this webinar, which is eventually getting everyone to some kind of strategy that they can take home and potentially use. So let's talk about one thing that is hugely important about block trades. It's probably the most important thing. So let's just start simply. Look at the numbers that we're dealing with these block trades. We're seeing 500,000 shares. We're seeing 300,000 shares. We're seeing 400,000 shares that are traded. For something like SRC, yeah, it's only a $7 stock, so a 500,000 share block isn't, huge. But something like RVNC, where it's a $25 stock and you see it trade almost 400,000 shares, you're going, how do these people have this much money to block out 400,000 shares? Well, that's just it. Most of these block trades are from institutions. You're not going to see a retail investor who has the kind of capacity, the kind of capital to go in and make a 500,000 share trade. So what does that mean? Well, it means that when you're looking at interest in block trades, most of the time you can use it as an indication of interest of what institutions are following right now. So if you're a trader who wants to follow institutions, if you think, okay, institutions, they're a big company for a reason, they probably know what they're doing, maybe I should think about following them. Block trades is probably one of the top ways that you can do this. And so let's kind of go into probably the question that we get most frequently on block trades is, okay, awesome, I see a 500,000 share block in SRC. How do I know which side of the trade I should take? Well, unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. You can't really look at a block trade and say, okay, that's clearly bullish or bearish. You can see a block trade, put it on your watch list, watch the chart, and understand that after the fact, the stock started moving higher, so that probably was a bullish trade. What we're going to do today is kind of take a step back and think about how you can look at block trades as potentially trying to uncover the investor who might be making that bet. And how we can do that is you can consider some other investors, some big investors in the name. So we can take a stock like SRC, we can look at notable investors in the name and sort of like deduce who might be invested in this. For something like SRC, we can probably look at a holder who has, maybe let's say 5 million shares, and guess that if that holder with 5 million shares of SRC wanted to make a 500,000 share trade, they would effectively be putting up about 10% of their position. That's probably pretty appropriate. If you're talking about more like 20, 25%, a big institutional investor probably isn't going to make a bet that big on their portfolio. So what I'm trying to say is you can really track down the investor that might have made that block trade by going to see who actually could have made the trade. It's kind of like weird to say it that way, but how I recommend doing this is find out who the biggest investors in SRC are, for example. And if, you can determine that there's only like 2 or 3 or 4 investors who probably would have the size to make a big block trade like 500,000 shares, then you can sort of start going to understand what that fund does. And you can start to understand if they are, exposed to like I know this is a financial company, SRC, Spirit Realty Capital. You can figure out if, the fund that might be in this name to make that 500,000 share is generally a long fund or generally a short fund. Then you can sort of start deducing if this trade was probably a bullish trade or probably a bearish trade. So that was a ton to go through real quick, Mike. What do you think about that? Any questions that like you have, I guess, in sort of that explanation?
Yeah, so it's kind of not necessarily the best way of showcasing the platform, but so how a tool that is not on this platform yet, but you can kind of go backwards to it is what Brett was saying. How do we see who the biggest holders are of SRC? You can't do that on the platform yet, but what you can do is you could search funds. So would we be able to search Spirit Realty Fund and see who's all holding it?
I don't believe so, actually. Yeah, so like, you know, what Mike is describing is we can go find the fund hold on the platform right now, on Benzing Pro right now. You can find out what an entire fund's holdings are, but you already have to know that fund. What we're going to be implementing pretty shortly here is sort of the reverse of that. And you don't need to know what the fund is. You can just type in a ticker and we'll show you all of the funds.
So basically going backwards from this is what
Exactly.
Brent and I are trying to describe to you.
Yep.
So here in the, when you click on this details icon right here, it's going to give you the a breakdown of details, whether it's of a stock or whether it's of a fund. And so what I did was I did a keyword search of Berkshire Hathaway, and what we can see from this view is Berkshire Hathaway's entire portfolio. We can see how much they own of each stock, what the value is, and be able to track it. So what we're working hard on developing is basically doing that backwards. So
Yep.
we would be able to see what was it? SRC.
Yep.
So we would be able to go from SRC and select this tab right here, possibly being called like who's holding it or whatever, and be able to back into your numbers from there.
Right.
But yeah, so you know, unfortunately, Brent, not all of us have the knowledge of the financial market as someone like yourself or our news desk to understand kind of who all these funds are. But being able to kind of back into these things and it's just a place to start your research and start to get some trade ideas.
Absolutely, for sure. And that's what we say about the majority of the tools here. You're not gonna get like a buy or sell answer on Benzinger Pro. I'm sorry to say. You're gonna get a really good spot to start your own research so that you're very convicted in the decisions that you're making. We don't want to give you the answers because we feel that we're probably not going to give you the best answers anyways. What we do is equip you with all of the tools so that you can make your own decision and you can be very convicted in that decision. We don't have a solution to show you, you know, all of the holders in SRC right now, but I do want to give the webinar attendees out there a solution that they can use in the near term until we do get that solution. And a website that I like to use is called Whale Wisdom. Whale, like mammal that swims in the sea, W-H-A-L-E, wisdom, like you're more than knowledgeable, you're wise about it. Whalewisdom.com, you can use that website and you can really quickly go see, for example, who are the biggest holders in SRC, and you can sort of start deducing down from there what kind of fund might be in SRC and might be making a big block trade, and then you can sort of understand, I would guess that this investor was bullish on the name, or I would guess that the investor was bearish on the name.
Excellent. And you know, and maybe I'm speaking wrong, and I think SRC is kind of a tough one to be able to kind of tell the bullish or bearish,
yeah,
because the stock is at 742 and they purchased it at 741. But something a little more drastic, such as like this 25.55
okay,
compared to a stock price of 26.20. You know, would that kind of indicate that you know, the RVNC seems to be a little bearish right now, and maybe some of the trend might be trending downward?
Well, at least how I use a lot of block trades is for continued momentum. So in other words, I think it's the opposite of what you were saying there, Mike. You know, if the investor here bought these 300,078 shares at about 25.55, and the stock is now at about 26.22. In other words, it closed higher than where they bought it. How I see that is I see that as, okay, some momentum came into this name when that big 400,000 share block hit. Investors out there saw that there was a big block out there and they wanted to believe in it. Sometimes you'll see it where it goes in the opposite direction. That would be an indication to me that investors noted that block trade and said, we don't really trust it right now. When you see something like RVNC and you see that, you know, a stock closed higher than where a big block trade happened, I like to believe that it means that maybe some new investors came in. Maybe it means that investors that were already in the name got a little bit more interested. Again, I like to use that as an indication of potentially continued momentum.
All right, we got a great question here
Ooh,
from
That's a
Craig.
good one.
Appreciate it. Brent, if you want to go ahead and take this one.
All right, thanks a lot, Craig. So Craig's asking, is a block trade at the low of the day or high of the day a solid indicator as to which way it will move? That is such a good question, Craig, seriously. I would bring in some sort of like kind of technical indicators into this a little bit, and I would say if you see a big block trade at the low of the day, it could indicate that there was potentially a technician noting that low of the day and basically flagging it and saying, okay, if this low of the day comes back into play again, I'm going to take advantage of it and I'm going to buy some. If you see it at the high of the day, what it could mean, and this is just, hypothetical considering one scenario, if you see a big block trade at a high of the day, what that says to me is there might have been a technician or a tape trader out there who flagged that high of the day, said, ooh, this is juicy right now. However, technically, I would like to see this this level come back into play, maybe after a pullback, and then pull the trigger. So to answer your question, I think it is a really good indicator of which way it will move. If you see a big move at a high of the day, it could mean that there could be, some added belief in that level from a technical perspective.
Excellent. And what I was trying to do is just show you guys some different technical tools as Brent was talking.
Okay.
Brent, what else do we have to talk about? I think we kind of flew through a lot of things here.
That was a ton of stuff. Yeah, we went through a ton of stuff really quickly. We got to, I think, a way that you can use block trades for one part of your strategy, at least one part of the equation. We kind of zoomed out from what is a block trade. That's the basic kind of stuff. We went over a ton of stuff in block trades today. I don't know how much more we can show you right now as far as the platform goes in block trade.
Yeah, and so what we would love is you guys to give us some feedback on what you guys would like to hear about next week or in the coming weeks, and we'll be happy to put it on the calendar and make sure you guys are able to kind of go through a demo or a webinar where we can talk about those type of things.
Yeah, and honestly, we're not just saying that, like, hey, give us some ideas. We take these ideas and we'll turn them into like the next webinar. If enough people chat in and say, hey, we really want to learn more about block trades, we want to get more advanced with it, we'll find a way. We're sort of done for it today, but we'll find a way to get more advanced with it. If you want to hear about options, great, we'll do a webinar about options. If you want to hear a webinar of what Mike and I like to do on the weekends, who knows? We'll do it. We just want to make you guys happy. So not just saying that, really send your suggestions for what you want to hear on the webinars. You can email it to Mike. It's Mike Marshall with 2 L's at benzinga.com. Send them your ideas. We'll make sure we get you guys a webinar that you really want to hear stuff about.
Absolutely. And another thing too, being on the product and sales team, I spend a lot of time, reaching out to our current users, our current people that are on trial, trying to allow them to understand the platform much further than just the news feed. We have, a full calendar suite here with about 11 different calendars. So, there is a wealth of information that you guys can take advantage of. So make sure that you guys are if you guys do have the ability to utilize the Benzinga Pro platform, make sure to hop on the phone with me or check out some of our how-to videos. We are currently creating a whole little learning portal where it's going to house all of these previous webinars as well as a bunch of how-to videos. We're trying our best here to make sure that you guys are able to fully understand the platform and kind of understand what we're doing over here. So really appreciate you guys being with us today, and reach out to us, tell us what we did wrong, tell us what we need to improve on, and what we need to add to the platform in order for it to be something that you guys would consider purchasing. And I think you'll be surprised in the type of results that you'll get from us.
Yeah.
So, we got a big weekend coming up. We have the 4th of July, so make sure you guys are all safe. Spend some time with your family and friends. And make sure to sign up for a free trial of Benzinga Pro if you have not already. And anything that we're missing?
No, that was awesome. Nice little sign out, Mike.
All right, see you guys later.